right. I would go live on Facebook, but it's too much of a distraction. But
I didn't know we're gonna go live.
oh
That's
no,
a
we're not
good
going
one.
live. No, no, I'm too Indianish to go live.
Too
Okay,
rugged, man.
we're recording. Me and you are on. All right, man. Let's get this going. How you been? What's new?
Bonjour, man. Thanks for having me. Just making most of life in the pandemic, man. And
Hell yeah, man.
I I'm down in Arizona where the weather's actually pretty good right now. So good to be here.
Getting your. I suppose you got a all around tan now, huh? All year.
Yeah, you could say something like that.
Crispier in hell.
Not
So
quite getting
go ahead. Okay. Well, just give a quick update where what are you doing and what your plans are and what yeah, just a brief introduction, I suppose. Go ahead then.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. My name is Dalton Walker. I'm a national correspondent with Indian Country Today, based in Phoenix, Arizona, on O'odham and Peepaw traditional homelands. Been down in Arizona now for about 5 years. Lived in multiple states. Born and raised up in Panema. Graduated from Red Lake High School a long time ago. I always have a soft spot for me though when I make it back home, which isn't often.
Nice. Nice. Doing that whole like a Clark Kent type, for the res. You take your glasses off, nobody would even knew who you are.
I don't think anyone would know who I am anyway. So it's one of those things. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to take back the bearded life. I know a lot of natives can't grow much facial hair, but I decided to turn that on its head and say, look at me, here I am.
Yeah, I aspire to be. I went. I think I went a total of 40 days for no shave November, and I just got a dirty looking mustache and a couple gray whiskers, and I had to shave it off. It was just embarrassing. It was pathetic. I don't even know why I bother doing no shave November, man. I'm just never be like you, bro.
Yeah, I don't know many of us natives out there who can do what I do. And it's a gift and a curse, I guess. So I like it. My family likes it. Some people wondering when I'll shave, but at the same time, it is what it is, and I enjoy it.
I remember we met down in Sioux Falls one time, and my wife she couldn't keep my hands off your beard, and I was gonna give you a spray bottle to get her away from you there for a while. So she started
That
calling you Whiskers.
that's them Red Lake women, man. That's why I can't stay there.
Oh,
Gee,
Red Lake aunties.
yeah, that was good times. I think that was the last time we were hanging out in person, which was, let's see, probably 8 or 9 years ago now.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, quite a
Good times all around. I remember you guys hanging out, and I my hair was a little more puffy back then, so you
yeah.
guys were getting a kick out of that.
Yeah. I still have the pictures from that, so I'll post them up later on.
I don't. You don't have to do that if you don't want to.
All right. But I was gonna, just talk about I see your articles you have for the Red Lake Warrior basketball, and you yourself played and you were a student manager. Why don't you just talk about that, your favorite memories of being an Ogichidaa.
Yeah, those are some great memories, and I'm really fortunate to have some nice experiences up there. I getting up there now. Be 20 years since I graduated high school. Basically, it is, yes. 2000. I played basketball at Red Lake. Was a student manager early on. I believe ninth grade, and that was a magical year. And at the same time, I remember pretty vividly certain elements of that year. And that was the first time Red Lake made it down to the big house, down to St. Paul, down to Minneapolis for basketball. And it was good times all around. I've saved a few items from those times, whether that's a game program, just photos. and I have it tucked away. And periodically, I'll be looking for things or trying to go through storage, and I'll come about them. And thanks to social media, I'm able to kind of express those memories visually along with verbally in this storytelling. So I do that periodically. But yeah, basketball, man, I still love to watch. I wish I could play better, but I'll always enjoy the game.
Yeah, I think that's the same with me, man. I love the game. I love playing sports with my friends, but I was too slow, too short, overweight, not athletic, but garbage time. We call us the bomb squad back in my day. We're up by 30. It's the only time I'd be able to get in.
Hey, I was right there with you too, man. My job was to make sure the people who did play would get good reps during practice. So push them around, grab some rebounds, give them some good passes. So I understood that was my gig. So when I did get in the game, for the most part, the game was usually in our favor, out of hand, and so I had to go in there and basically not mess it up. Still good times though.
Yeah, put on a show. Yeah,
Yep, exactly.
that's usually where I put my no look bullet pass to somebody's face and behind the back to nowhere in particular, but just to feel that crowd, that energy of the Warrior fans. I don't know if I think playoff time I never really got out there because all the games are pretty close, but just sitting on a bench and you hear them crowds going, and that's one of the like high, even though I wasn't playing, didn't get any play time, but just to feel the energy of that Warrior crowd during playoff time, that was, I couldn't really understand it at the time, but now that I'm getting older, I should have took it more, took more of it in while I could have. But the closest I can come to that now is, being on stage in front of a good, rugged native crowd. I just, the dirty, not dirty talk, but how our humor is and how everybody gets off on that, and just the energy of the crowd was a big thing for me.
Yeah, fans, Red Lake fans to be exact, are very supportive, been there through the thick and thin, through the years. And you just kind of bring me back to those memories just by you explaining that. I haven't been to a Warrior game in years, partly because I'm not even up there, but I've been to probably more than 10 years now. And I imagine the crowds are similar, pretty rowdy, a lot of support. But like you mentioned, playoff basketball, especially down in Bemidji, which is, as you know, is close. Man, those fans would be loud and roaring and screaming. At the time, you didn't know how big of a deal it is, but when I think about it, and from watching prep basketball or other native teams, Red Lake is clearly one of the top ones with fan support.
Yeah, those Red Lake crowds are legendary, man. And I always think about watching like other states and their native basketball teams. They make it to state. Some of them win state titles, and in my mind, I'm thinking Minnesota's got the best basketball ever. That's why the Warriors can't get to the top. But that's just me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I was like, when I would see the Dakotas or even the boys and girls out in Montana cutting down the nets, I always thought, man, if they played the competition we played, it would be another story. But at the same time, they were just good. They did it, man. I
Yeah.
admire that. I always think back. I think my senior year, we finally got to play a team from North Dakota. I believe it was Standing Rock. We got to play them and put a pounding on them by about 20, 25 points. And that was one of my favorite wins I recall as a senior. Not many people remember that, but it was nice just to smack them around for a little bit that time.
I remember those native tournaments out in Bismarck, Christmas time tournaments. I only got to make it to one, but man, those are, again, no play time because the games are so close. Man, it's like back and forth. Res ball, run and gun. It was just like 90, 100 points just about every game, and it's really, it was you expected all teams you play to be like that. To be that. It's, I don't know if it was just the teams bringing out the best in each other, and like a warrior mentality where all the schools just wanted to beat the other team so bad because they're natives, even from different states, and that was a lot of fun to watch. Even though I was on a bench, but I was still in awe.
Hey man, nothing wrong with being on the bench. Like I mentioned, you're still part of the team. You're still trying to make the team
Yeah,
better. Unfortunately, I missed that run to Bismarck. Once I got into high school, they stopped going out there to play those reservation teams, which was I was looking forward to growing up, seeing Peach, Bob Barrett, Kevon Kingbird, all those guys do some cool stuff on the court. I guess even like Derek Smith, like probably still has one of the smoothest jumpers
yeah.
up there. Like those guys were kind of the ones I looked up to as a elementary student, even up in middle school. And never made it out to Bismarck to watch the tournament, but man, I was looking forward to that. And unfortunately, once I got up to school, we started going other places.
Yeah, I think my senior year we were out there, and we had a little too much fun out there, and I don't know. Remember, I was
Oh,
we were rock stars, I suppose, and acted like
oh,
it.
as much as I talk about the fun and interesting, cool times, there's a little dark side there. And I'm sure every team, every player would tell you those stories that would get them in trouble. But those are also part of the good times, man. I have a few too that I come to mind off the top of my head that probably wasn't a good idea at the time, but man, those are some fun times.
Yeah, we were just kids, man, having fun out of state in the hotel room, and trying to look at the girls from the other teams and stuff like that. It was just pure, not madness. We were kids, just having fun, and I was just probably about makes me think about my favorite times playing any sport was just the bus ride with all the bros, man, and the stories we'd share and stuff like that. And I remember seventh grade through 12th grade; those are probably the best times of my life on that bus, man. That cold drive and
Yeah, that bus ride, it's interesting that you bring it up. I haven't dabbled too much in fiction or even long form writing, like book wise, but the bus rides, those are the things that I think about when I think about a narrative style of storytelling. Like those moments on the bus after a big game, you win, you grab your food, you're just hanging out. And then the anxiety, the excitement going to a unfamiliar gym, unfamiliar location. People have their headphones on. People just kind of psyching themselves out, hearing some horror stories, maybe drinking some stuff you probably shouldn't be drinking. But those are some fun times too.
yeah, I think about that. Like seemed like every school around here that we went to, like Clearbrook and Bagley and Laporte and all that. It was like when we'd show up, it was like not a certain respect, but it was like people were, they were knew not to mess with us. But the only times we really had trouble was when we went to other native schools. Because I remember this, I think it might have been eighth or ninth grade. I was actually getting significant playtime back then, and I remember we were up by 20, 30, and I was at one end of the court. I was getting, suffocated by a defender. So I just made it look like I was going to throw a long range pass, but that defender was right on side of me. And I just, boom, I bashed him in the head with that ball and walked off like nothing. I almost started a riot there. And then on the way out to the bus, I don't remember if it was might have been Circle of Life School. And man, their team surrounded our bus. As soon as we're all in there, they're ready to, we want to step, you want to step. They're calling us out, and Kevin Kingbird was the first one to go out there, and almost, we almost had a big ass rumble there, just because I don't know if it was like the native thing, the native rivalries, and it's been like that. It shows in that the Cass Lake Warrior rivalry is really big around here.
Yeah, yeah, I remember those games against Cass Lake. I believe that was really the only native squad we played on a regular in my high school days, and those are some big rivals. It's funny to think about it because the coach for them was legend Dan Inham, and I remember him talking to us like he always had this formal voice and this kind of big, because he's like 6'10", like he's a giant dude, so you're always kind of intimidated by him. Anyway, But those are fun times thinking about him too. And it actually brings me back to a memory back when 96, when Red Lake was about to play in a state tournament. I think Coach Jack got Dan to bring his boys up to Red Lake, and we had like a scrimmage, and I was just like, that was really cool too to think about that scrimmage because we're both really good teams.
Right, that was I remember they did that our senior year. Jack took us down to Wobbin to scrimmage them, and that was a pretty intense scrimmage there, man. It was like a real like a playoff game. You know, that intensity. You know, again, you know, the natives against natives. They just wanted the that Ogichidaa mentality where you wanted to be better than whoever's. It was like acting like we were acting like girls were watching. That's how hard everybody was playing, man.
It's pride, man. It's pride, especially when people look like you want to beat them. You want to walk away and have bragging rights because 20, 30 years down the road, you bring those up, you got one up on them.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I love about living around here, man. And I think they're pushing their basketball season back, and there was actually a thought where, man, what if Red Lake doesn't have a basketball season? You know, because I know their football season and volleyball were cut short, and they didn't even have baseball and softball last year, and it would be really weird without basketball. I don't know what any, what anybody would do, and that's like kind of a scary thought around here, you know.
I feel bad for them players, especially the seniors, losing out on something because it's out of their hands. But that's unfortunate. I understand why it would have to be done, man. Safety first, and you don't want to get young people sick and have them pass it on to our elders and older people. So I understand if that's the case. Maybe they'll figure it out, but way things are going, man, I wouldn't be surprised if they decided just to skip it.
Yeah, it's the whole coronavirus. It's just really, a tricky situation. I don't know if it's, I've said this before that the coronavirus started on the coasts, and they just slowly make its way up to Red Lake because Red Lake gets everything last. You know, we had the hip hop and whatever is famous starts on the coast and then finally makes its way. And I think we're probably one of the last ones that are going to get hit. It's scary to say. Maybe the worst is yet to come regarding the coronavirus, and then that's a really scary thought because a lot of the hospitals everywhere now are being overwhelmed, and up in Red Lake we got our IHS, and then we got Bemidji south of us, and even those beds are filling up, and I just really don't know how to prepare anybody for something like this.
Yeah, the you mentioned the coast part. I believe the first tribe affected by COVID, man, it feels like years ago, but it was this calendar year in March was one up in Oregon that had a case. And man, when you think about how many have suffered and how many have passed away since then, it's hard to even grasp that number. I think we've all lost someone that's close or someone that knows somebody that was close. So it's scary, man. And I understand you went through a bout too, and I'm really glad that you bounced back and it looks like you're back to normal as you could.
Yeah, that I think I was tested positive October 21st, and the whole time it was so stressful for me because I was thinking about, what if I pass it on to my wife and my kids and my coworkers and I haven't really seen my parents. I've seen them like maybe 4 times since March, and I just keep thinking about them. If somehow what I have, that's was the hardest part for me, and I stressed out about it for about the first week or so, and I was in isolation at a hotel in Bemidji for 10 days. And about the fifth or sixth day, I didn't, the whole time I was asymptomatic. I didn't suffer any symptoms or anything, but the isolation, it got to me. And because that's the longest I've ever been alone or away from home. And I, there's like 3 days I just stayed in bed straight. I looked at my Fitbit. I had barely 1,000 steps in those 3 days, and usually I'm up to 10, 15,000 steps a day. And I've never experienced a bout of depression like that. But there's just one day, the wife call me, and I just had to get myself up, and fortunate that I didn't suffer any symptoms. And because about a month before that, I suffered from bronchitis, which really sucked the life out of me. And I was up for days because I couldn't sleep. If I did sleep, I'd have to sit up. And I was thinking about that when I tested positive. I was thinking, man, there's this coronavirus might do me in, and that's one of the scariest thoughts I've ever had as an adult.
Yeah, again, we're glad and very happy that you're back to normal and you're able to do your multimedia project, especially like this one, getting the word out. But you bring up an interesting point, man, that the mental health aspect of this is just as scary, man. you you're isolated, you're not sure what's going to happen to you. I can't imagine, but man, a lot of people are going through this right now. A lot of thoughts in your head, you feel alone, all this thing. All we can ask is people to definitely reach out to health professionals. They have people who are experts in this field who are willing to help you. I imagine IHS has some type of phone call. Even state organizations, there's always some type of phone call that's free for people if they're having issues when it comes to mental health. And so that part too. And a part that worries me too, like northern Minnesota, you know how brutal those winters can get.
Hmm.
So you're kind of stuck at home already to begin with. So hopefully people are planning for those cold nights, those cold times. You have to stay home for days at a time because if you get COVID in this type of climate with that weather, man, I'm not going to be kind to you. So hopefully people are planning or at least prepping on that situation up there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. The thing, even though it was just a meme, a stupid meme on Facebook that I saw. It was said something about, how can you be so calm with everything going wrong? People, food is scarce and stuff like that. Then that meme said, well, a lot of these people are new poor. They don't know how to act without money, but we're old poor, so we've been through stuff like this before. And I'm thinking that's where we are right now, because me personally, my family, we're doing okay because we've struggled to survive since our people have struggled to survive. So this is nothing new to us, and I think a lot of the outsiders will be looking at us to try and figure things out, and then they'll give us our lake back maybe.
You have a good point there about this, about the new poor, knowing I grew up in a single parent household up in Panema, and I didn't really know that we were struggling, but my mom did the best she could, and I'm still very thankful for all the effort she put in. We had food, had a warm place to stay. I know some people aren't as fortunate, especially on the res, but man, yeah, what you're talking about too. I guess you just got to make the most of it, man. New new poor people. That is a funny meme. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're 500 years, man. We've been here putting up with all this shit, and I think we're gonna be all right, man. But it's gonna be a tough battle getting out of it.
Yeah, I'm hoping the worst is behind us. With the holidays here and all the news reports and everything that's going on, it sounds like it's going to be pretty bad here. But I reiterate to people, like, you can do your part by wearing a mask and social distancing, washing your hands. Like, it might be tedious, it might sound like, why do I got to do this? But it's important that you do that, especially if it's cold outside and you're kind of stuck home with loved ones. Like, this virus is out there, man, and the vaccine they talk about, like, that's not going to happen tomorrow or next week or even next month for many of us. So we still got to brace ourselves and stay safe out there.
Yeah, it's really, the whole American mentality is, yeah, I'm tough, nothing can stop me. I don't care. This is American Jack. I can see what, and that's what's gonna hurt everybody else. Everybody wants to get out and party. Go to the bars, and but there's an aspect where I was thinking about. A lot of the local businesses in Bemidji were all against the shutdown, and then with people hearing that, they think they're pro Trump. They don't want to, do whatever, but that's their livelihood. It's the way they put food on the table for their family, their business, because they need that, money to come in. Whether they support Trump or whoever else, man, that's just them wanting to survive. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, because I see that a lot, especially, we have this like Bemidji chit chat thing on Facebook. It just gets so, either with me or against me and mentality. But it just, some people got to realize that people are just trying to survive out there.
Yes, small businesses are taking a hit across the country. Federal relief hasn't been as good as it needs to be for especially those smaller guys. And I do understand why a business, restaurant, whatever retail would want to stay open. Hopefully, they're implementing safety procedures. Last thing you want to do is go to a place and everybody has no mask and germs everywhere. So hopefully, they're able to implement that. Um, but at the same time, man, you gotta like most professions, like most industries, you gotta be able to adjust and advance, man. I've had to do it myself with my writing. Like I have to get better multimedia stuff with photos and video.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to do that when I first got. So I think part of it too is us keeping to continue to learn how to adjust and just move forward safely.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna
the whole adapting thing, man. You got to adapt to survive. And a lot of my gigs got canceled this year, and a lot of my fellow comedians, a lot of them they were struggling, and it was tough to see. And it just so happened that when everything started shutting down, I got hired full time, with benefits and all that. So I've been really fortunate and happy that I was able to score something regular, even though my comedy career was just about non-existent after that. And not a lot of my uh, comedian friends were able to adjust. But the thing that we can do is the podcast. Try to get support through podcasts and just sharing information and stuff that we learn. So I hope that's the next step for everybody, that every artist to get out there somehow and make some money.
Yeah, I totally get that. One of the early messages though through COVID, which I actually don't really hear that often anymore, is that it's important for us to kind of buckle down and understand the moment of this happening to us, what we need to do to stay safe for tomorrow. And you're not talking about for Friday, for Saturday, you're talking about what's next. Like the sooner we're able to buckle down, like the quicker we will get back to what people enjoyed before the pandemic. And man, when you think about the pandemic, wow, February, January, I as this being in the news industry, people were getting sick with things, but man, I did not know this is where we were going until March. And when I think about it then, I'm like, wow, this this is a lot bigger than me or anyone I know. And it just hit us. And wow, it's just hard to explain that feeling you have when it's out of your hands.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of on Facebook. I like to read my on this day, and starting next year, there's going to be a lot of my on this day posts where I wasn't taking coronavirus serious, and I'm going to be cringing and like I'm going to be embarrassed of the way I took it, man. It like you said, man, couldn't believe where we were headed, and we're still here, man, and scary.
Well, that's a good thing, man. You're able to learn from your mistakes and move forward. I know it's easy for us to jump on one another and be like, well, 2 or 3 months ago you didn't say that. I'm like, okay, you didn't say that, but right now you've obviously are doing better things. So in the moment, I'm glad. So it's one of those arguments I kind of wish you would kind of shift away from by knocking down one another with something that was said or done in the past with each other.
Yeah, that's a lot of seeing on Facebook, even this the political season, people were talking about you know, talking down on others, thinking, saying that Joe Biden is the savior or whatever because of his crime bill in '94, and then Kamala Harris is the attorney general in California and all she did to imprison. But there's got to be a point where you see that they're progressing from those times. Those were years ago. Things change. You got to accept that people are evolving, and even just this past year, I've matured a lot the last few months by what I've experienced, and there's still going to be a lot of people. Why, like you said, why you didn't say that before? Look how you were before. You can. It's like they can't see past what I grew from. I suppose way to say it, man.
Hey, I get what you're saying, but I also want to make sure I separate that. Like elected officials, their record, that's what they've done in the past. That stuff can come back to get you, and rightfully so. It's public stuff, man. So when I mentioned that, if for you, for example, you said something 3 months ago and you learned from your mistake, that's a lot. That's different for me than someone like elected official who did something that hurt a lot of people
Yeah,
3 years ago and come back and say, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that." No, that's a lot. That's different for me. Clarification sake. But yeah, the political season was wild. I think a lot of us, especially us in the news industry, were just waiting for election day because we needed that to happen, and whatever the results were, we just needed it to happen and go over with so we could start on something, because the election season was pretty bad when you think about all the rhetoric and the back and forth and all the stuff that was said about the country, states, about people. Then you throw the pandemic there, man, it was just a wild time. And you bring up the Facebook memories. Yeah, I'm not going to be clicking on stuff from 2020 very often in the coming years when you see all these stuff that's happened this year. It's a wild time.
yeah. We're lucky. We're survivors, man. We're gonna adapt and gonna learn from this, bring it back around, learn from this. But other than that,
That's a
I
key,
think
that's a key word. That's the key word there is survivors. We tend to live in the moment and what can I do for myself today, and which is good. Your outlook about bettering yourself, whether that's through learning, helping others, that's great. But we also have to remember the surviving aspect, man. It's in our blood, it's in our genes, our ancestors. They survived a lot worse than this for us to be in this moment. So we got to make sure that we understand that, respect that, and give props, man, because for the Ojibwe people migrating out from east in these harsh winters, we take for granted we're able to stay warm in our house now for that. But man, can you imagine growing up like that? It would have been a good time, but man, that's those people were a lot stronger. My ancestors were a lot stronger than I am when it comes to that.
yeah. I think about that. My grandpa, he had lost a couple fingers, because he was a logger, and I sprained my thumb on my phone scrolling. So we're not I'm not the same as my grandpa.
Yeah, and I've lost all those little things too growing up on the res, like chopping wood, going out hunting, going set traps. Like man, I had some good I had some nice uncles and my older brother who would show me that way. Like man, and snare rabbits, all the fun stuff that I remember growing up doing. Like I haven't done that in more than a couple of decades now. I don't even know if I could even do that type of thing anymore. So I'm right there with you, man. I'll probably sprain my ankle walking down to get a piece of wood.
Thankfully, there's YouTube tutorials for snaring and hunting and all that now, which I've been looking at a lot. So
I used to, speaking of that, like I remember my phones would be either too cold and wouldn't work, and my pens would be frozen because the temperature dropped so much. So you couldn't rely on on real time social media because your phone would either freeze up or shut down because it was so cold. But yeah, those are some fun times too.
Yeah. All right, brother. I think that's all I got, man. I just want to thank you for coming on. This is the maiden voyage of the Indian Way podcast on Zoom. So they'll write songs about you. I don't know if you have any closing remarks, anything you want to share, your social media, where they can find you.
Well, Migwij, again, for having me, man. I really appreciate you having this outlet and have been able to share our stories through yourself and through your guests. That's pretty cool, man. And more has to happen. Hopefully, more people up in Red Lake, Panema, all up there follow in your footsteps, man. Because the more stories told, the better the world would be. Hearing all about those shenabs and all the wildness we get done up there. Um, Please follow me on social media. As I mentioned, I'm with Indian Country Today. Check out our website, indiancountrytoday.com. Daily, we have some cool stuff, a lot of informative stuff. You should check it out each day. Follow me on Twitter, Dalton Walker. Tweeting all kinds of interesting stuff. At least I think it's interesting. But yeah, man, thanks for having me. This was fun, and I'll gladly do it again. Hopefully we can get it done in person one day. You never know, but thank you.
Yeah, be good, and we'll set something up, man. And I was gonna say, send me your address. I'll send you one of my either one of these Indian Way shirts, or I got a couple more coming, so we'll let you decide. So just we'll make sure you can represent the Indian Way
Yeah,
wherever
man,
you want.
you got a cool setup. You have the helmet in the back, you have the NWO like shirt, you got the elder photo up, got your book collection. Okay, you got a nice little blanket, man. You got a nice little setup there.
Oh, this here, my art is Bon Lasley. He's a Red Laker, and this calendar is E. Jourdain Jr. 2021 calendar. So look them up if you guys want some real, authentic Native American art. So shout out to those guys for doing it big. All right, brother. We will talk to you again, and we'll get this out live to the world. And thank you for your time. All right, I think we ended it there, but again, thanks a lot, man. We'll get you a shirt. I think I can send it out maybe by the end, early next week. So we'll get you some extra medium.
Yeah, I could put my little dog in it, maybe.
All right, man. We'll talk again.
All right, man. Take care of yourself, man.
Yeah, you too.